from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasani Balachandra.
Good evening. I'm Trevor Richards. First of all, we take a look at the headlines. The decisive IMF Executive Board meeting will be held today. The 18 Bend area along the Kandy Mahayangana Road closes at night. Distribution of TSP fertilizer free of charge commences from today. The bank crisis in the Western world intensifies. Dimut Karunaratne steps down from the Test captaincy.
We'll move on to those and other stories in detail, and in your top local story tonight, the International Monetary Fund is expected to approve a $2.9 billion fund facility for Sri Lanka.
Well, this approval for the bailout package will be decided when the IMF Executive Board convenes today. The IMF Executive Board will convene at the IMF headquarters in Washington, D.C. tonight in Sri Lanka time. The staff-level agreement reached between the IMF and the Sri Lankan government in last September will be considered at the meeting. Subsequently, the Executive Board will decide whether to grant the approval for the agreed package to Sri Lanka. In a tweet on March 7th, IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said that the Global Lending Agency is committed to assist Sri Lanka on this process. Accordingly, the approval granted by IMF Executive Board will unlock IMF financing for Sri Lanka through the $2.9 billion 4-year loan under the Extended Fund Facility. The first installment of the IMF-supported program will extend $400 million to Sri Lanka before the end of next month. The IMF representatives are expected to address the media following the Executive Board session. The official announcement over the fund facility will be declared at the briefing. The global investor community has emphasized that the support of the IMF is essential for Sri Lanka to overcome the economic crisis faced by the country. The global lending institutions and investors are expected to work closely with Sri Lanka after the country obtains the IMF-supported fund facility. Well, the extended credit facility provided by the International Monetary Fund is considered as one of the key steps to revive the economy of the country. The International Monetary Fund has indicated the fund facility will be essential to address Sri Lanka's severe balance of payments and the long-term economic stability.
Sri Lanka approached the International Monetary Fund when the country faced with its worst economic crisis in more than 7 decades. Sri Lanka reached a staff-level agreement with the International Monetary Fund for a loan of $2.9 billion. The loan is expected to be made under the IMF's Extended Fund Facility, which helps countries deal with balance of payment and cash flow problems. According to the IMF, the relevant funds will be disbursed after satisfactory debt restructuring, including debt relief arrangements. IMF conditions for the loan also include receiving financing assurances from Sri Lanka's official creditors and efforts by the country to reach an agreement with private creditors. IMF assurance sends positive signals to multilateral and bilateral creditors about the trajectory of the Sri Lankan economy. Accordingly, Sri Lanka secured financing assurances from China, India and all its major bilateral and private creditors, setting the stage for final approval of the IMF's 4-year bailout of $2.9 billion. Hence, IMF Executive Board is expected to consider the bailout package for Sri Lanka today.
To 400 million approximately from the IMF as a part of the broader 2.9 billion bailout package over a period of 4 years. We need to understand that this money is important given the situation of the country, because our debt, our credit rating is quite low. So when IMF intervenes or when they join, basically it opens up many other channels for us to raise money from World Bank, from Asian Development Bank, and other countries, they can provide us the assistance when we get the IMF money. And also this IMF bailout package or this first installment, we will not be able to, that money is being given not to increase state sector salaries or even not for imports or anything like that. That money basically straight away goes to reserves. So when the reserve levels are improved, our credit rating improves. When the credit rating is improved, then only the other countries and other organizations can provide us more financial assistance. So when the credit rating improves, also we have the ability to borrow money from all the other bilateral partners and multilateral partners as well. So that is the game plan that we play, and we have to understand the context that IMF just cannot save us unless we do our own reforms. So it's important that we do the reforms for us to move forward, and those reforms can only be done through political will and by in-depth analysis, and that's what we need to move forward.
The government has indicated that the country's economy will be strengthened through the IMF Extended Fund Facility. State Minister Shehan Singh has said that with the commitment in the debt restructuring process, the government has shown the world that the country is ready to be transformed into a country which is capable in making the debt payments. He said that after receiving the approval from the IMF Executive Board, President Wickremesinghe will table the IMF agreement to the Parliament. Investors are expecting that Sri Lanka will win the final approval for the extended fund facility from the International Monetary Fund today. The Bloomberg Global News Agency in an article has indicated that the $2.9 billion loan assistance will be a key step for the country to revive its economy.
The article has indicated that the country's dollar bonds have returned 20% this year, the top performers in the world. The local currency surged 8% and stocks climbed 5% this month, beating the Asian peers on anticipation of billions of dollars in financing trickling in. The rupee fell 45% last year, while the Colombo Stock Exchange all-share index declined more than 30% in 2022. Since defaulting in May, Sri Lanka has taken tough measures to put its economy back on a steadier path, including cutting subsidies, raising taxes and loosening its control on the currency. Sri Lanka secured debt assurances from bilateral creditors including India, China and the Paris Club nations, and initiated good faith negotiations with private bondholders as prerequisites to obtain the bailout. The IMF fund facility expected to help support bond prices at current levels, while more gains will depend on how successful the country is in raising revenue. Foreign investors are also expected to boost their holdings of Sri Lanka's government bonds on bets a bailout would unlock more funding to stabilize the nation's finances. The article has pointed out that at a time the IMF aid will be a relief for the country, but the debt restructuring could take place time to complete with keeping the country locked out of markets.
The Met Department says the prevailing rainy condition is temporary. When compared to yesterday, there's a decrease of rainfall today. Meanwhile, 60 houses were damaged by an earth slip which occurred in Punagala Estate in Bandaravela yesterday. The earth slip in Punagala Estate occurred at about 8 p.m. last night. Members of 3 armed forces and villagers jointly conducted a rescue mission, and 5 persons with injuries have been admitted to Koslanda Hospital. 220 persons of 60 families have been affected by the earth slip. They have been temporarily sheltered in Punagala Primary School at present. Director General of the Disaster Management Centre, Major General Siddhanta Ranasinghe said that 3 houses have been fully damaged and 20 houses are partly damaged. There's a hospital, a local dispensary and a trade stall which also have been damaged by the landslide. The damages will be estimated in future to pay compensation to the affected people. Minister Jeevan Thondaman says that he has instructed the relevant authorities to provide relief immediately to the affected people in the Punagala estate. The National Building Research Organisation have issued landslide warning to some places in the Halmudul Divisional Secretariat area in Badula district, in Alpeti Divisional Secretariat area in Galle district. In addition, warning alerts have been issued for Nagoda and Bategama Divisional Secretariat areas in the Galle district and Ukuwela, Rattota, Vilgama and Naula Divisional Secretariat areas in the Matale district. Road traffic along the Kandy Mahiyangane A26 road at the 18 Bend area was obstructed as an earth mound and some boulders fell onto the road at the second hairpin bend. Later the road was totally closed down and one lane of the road was opened for vehicles this morning. A team of officials from the National Building Research Organisation attended the area and monitored the situation. Heavy gale force winds accompanied by the rain have uprooted trees and broken down huge branches of trees. This has caused damages to houses and created road traffic. Director General of the Meteorology Department, Atula Kannanayaka, says that heavy rains will be east in the coming days.
Protest campaigns were held in several places yesterday as well against the increased electricity and water bills and also the high cost of living. The Jana Aragala Sabhava in Kalutara organized a torch-bearing protest in Kalutara area last night. A group of activists of the Frontline Socialist Party organized a protest last night at Uragada area in Valipanda against the high cost of living. The National People's Power yesterday held a torch-bearing protest in Thalava town in Anuradhapura, demanding the government to bring down the cost of living and reduce electricity tariffs. The Samagi Jana Balawegya organized a protest in Kalava yesterday, asking the government to reduce the electricity cost immediately. Another torch lighting protest was held in Polonnaruwa last night. It has been organized by the national organizer of the Samagi Jana Balawegya, Tisattanayaka, and the party leaders.
The distribution of TSP fertilizer Madapuhura free of charge to farmers commenced from today. The Ministry of Agriculture says that 1.2 million farmers will be provided with this fertilizer relief. The government distributes TSP fertilizer among the farmers after lapse of 3 cultivation seasons. The government has been able to import a stock of 36,000 metric tons of mud fertilizer with the support of UN Food and Agriculture Organization and the USAID. Meanwhile, Mahavari Farming Organization held a media briefing today and pointed out that the paddy purchasing program started by the government recently has become a failure at present.
The writ petitions filed by parents of Nadun Chintaka Vikramaratna alias Harakkata and Salindu Manshika alias Kudu Salindu, requesting to confirm the security of their lives, who are now in the custody of the CID, were summoned by the Appeals Court today. Well, the Appeals Court allowed time to the Attorney General to submit the objections with regard to the 2 petitions. Accordingly, limited objections should be filed before the 4th of April. Petitions were summoned before the panel of judges headed by President of the Appeals Court, Nishanka Bandula Karunaratna, and Judge A. Marikkar. The Supreme Court today issued an interim injunction against the former Minister of Wildlife and other relevant authorities, preventing them digging trenches in the wildlife conservation areas to prevent elephants entering the villages. The Supreme Court issued the order granting leave for a hearing petition submitted by the Environmental Justice Centre and several others.
Several former local government councillors have handed over their vehicles back to the relevant institutions as the office term of the local government bodies ended yesterday. Office term of 340 local government bodies ended last midnight. Accordingly, functions of the local government bodies will be carried by the local government commissioners and secretaries. Councillors had been selected for the local government bodies at the voting conducted on the 10th of February 2018 for a period of 4 years. The office term started on 20th of March in 2018. As the office term has expired, former councillors should hand over the office vehicles which are under their custody to the local government commissioners and secretaries. Former chairman of the Kotikavatta Mulleriava Pradesh Sabha, Indunil Sarat Kumara, handed over his official vehicle today to the Secretary of the Pradesh Sabha, DVC Chandani. Former chairman of the Yatyantura Pradesh Sabha, KD Vasanta, returned his official vehicle and related documents today to the Secretary of the Pradesh Sabha.
The Ministry of Education has focused attention to start a spoken English program among the school students. This program will be carried out island-wide from the 30th of this month. Well, attention has also been focused to enhance all school curriculum from the grade 6 to 13 up to the international level. Minister of Education says that the pilot project in this direction will be started next month. It has been planned to teach artificial intelligence with the subject of information technology. The minister made this comment at a ceremony held at the New Art Theatre in Colombo University to distribute medals and certificates to the winners of the Olympiad competition. The Ministry of Education and the Sri Lanka Physical Science Institute have jointly organized this annual competition. Well, the injunction order issued preventing an examination into a private complaint filed against DIG Deshabandhu Tendakon at the 4th Magistrate Court has been extended up to the 28th of this month.
Under the complaint, the DIG has been charged with regard to finding a sum of nearly 70.8 million rupees from the President's house at the time that the strugglers entered the premises. A panel of appeal court judges issued this order when the writ petition filed by DIG Deshabandhu Tendakon was summoned for hearing today. President's counsel Ramesh De Silva appeared for the DIG and requested to fix a date for the petition for consideration. The State Counsel Shaminder Vikrama appeared for the respondent magistrate of Fort and requested time to consult the Judicial Services Commission in this connection. The petition was postponed to the 28th of this month. Meanwhile, a group of civil organization activists has handed over a letter to the police headquarters today requesting not to appoint the senior DIG Deshabandhu Tendakon as the IGP. Activists stated that several complaints have been made against the DIG regarding several matters, including the assault to the Golfe strugglers.
The General Sir John Kotalawala Memorial Mooting Competition was held recently at the university premises. Minister Nimal Siripala De Silva attended the event as the chief guest. Well, the event was organized by the Moot Court and Debating Society of the General Sir John Kotalawala Defence University. The National Mooting Competition is held annually with the participation of teams from all law schools in the country. General Sir John Kotalawala Defence University's Vice Chancellor Major General Milinda Paris, Dean of the Faculty of Law, and number of invitees, W.S. Vijay Singh, also attended the event. Speaking at the event, the minister emphasized that the lawyers should improve their professional competence and self-education with dedication.
The French women players who will take part in the Raid Amazons 2023 organized by Sri Lankan Airlines arrived in the island this morning from Paris.
And they reached the Katunayake Bandaranaike International Airport by Sri Lankan Airlines flight UL 564. Well, a very colourful ceremony has been organised at the Katunayake Bandaranaike International Airport to welcome the French competitors. They were then taken to Gampa railway station and they reached Kandy by the Udarata Manike train in the morning. Raid Amazon's 2023 tournament, which is the only women's adventure racing event, will be held in Kandy from the 22nd to the 28th of this month. About 250 women competitors are scheduled to take part in this event. Banks have rushed to keep the cash flowing through the world's financial systems after the failures of two US banks and the rescue of Credit Suisse sent shockwaves across the global markets.
And this story is upcoming right after this break.
මෙහෙම දිනන්න මෙහෙම වන්න Big Match Fund Prima කොත්තුමි තියනකම්
Attention all 16 to 30-year-old twins. Exciting news. Miss and Mr. Twin Sri Lanka 2023 is approaching. Don't miss your chance to compete for the crown. Closing dates for registrations 25th March 2023. First audition is on April 2nd at PMICH. Contact Sri Lanka Twins Organization via WhatsApp at 070-464-4640. Start preparing for your shot at becoming Miss or Mr. Twin Sri Lanka 2023.
Welcome back, and in your foreign news tonight, central banks have rushed to keep cash flowing through the world's financial systems after the failures of two US banks and the rescue of Credit Suisse sent shockwaves across global markets.
Well, in fact, 6 central banks, including the Bank of England, announced they would boost the flow of US dollars from today. Well, such measures were taken, in fact, last due to the 2008 financial crisis and at the height of the COVID pandemic. It comes after Credit Suisse was bought by UBS in a state-backed rescue deal. Stock markets have fallen sharply since Silicon Valley Bank and the Signature Bank collapsed in the US last week, sparking fears of runs on other banks. They remained under pressure today despite the rescue of Switzerland's second largest lender this weekend. Central banks have stressed the global banking system is safe, but there are concerns that other lenders could face trouble after recent rises in the interest rates left some sitting on large losses.
A major cleanup effort is underway in Australia after millions of fish died in a river in western New South Wales. Fish will be cleared from the high-density areas, but it will not be possible to remove all the carcasses. Police reassured local residents that the water supply remained high quality. The deaths are thought to have been caused by low oxygen levels in the river after a recent heat wave. An emergency hub has been set up in the town of Menindee in western NSW to coordinate the response and monitor water quality.
Well, according to authorities in Malawi, Mozambique and Madagascar, Tropical Cyclone Freddy has killed more than 500 people in Southeast Africa. Well, the World Meteorological Organization says it is likely that Cyclone Freddy, which started in February, is the longest ever in recorded history. Disaster management authorities in Malawi, which has been hit the hardest by the cyclone, reported on Saturday that the death toll there had risen to 438. Malawi's president declared a 14-day national mourning period on Thursday. There are hundreds of evacuation centers set up across the country for survivors.
Flowers have come to full bloom across China, blanketing vast landscapes and attracting numerous tourists who are relishing the awe-inspiring scenery. Peach blossoms are in full bloom near the Jiang Lake in Yeyuan City in North China, with clusters of pink and white petals filling branches and lake water, adding radiance and beauty, presenting a picturesque scenery. Along the winding footpath, tourists are busy taking photos and enjoying the poetic beauty of peach blossoms when bathing in the gentle breeze of warm spring.
And still in China, a mischievous giant panda welcomed a late-season snowfall as an opportunity to take the tumble and snow off his playful personality among a flurry of flakes at his exclosure in northeast China. Well, the bear named Yu Yu has become known for its love for the snowy weather, and ever since settling into the Yabulu National Forest Park in the icy city of Harbin in 2016. Since arriving at the park 7 years ago, the panda has displayed an inexhaustible energy for hugging chunks of ice and playing around the slushy water, even as he enters the middle age by panda standards.
මෙහෙම දිනන්න මෙහෙම වන්න Big Match Fun Dream කොත්තුමි තියනකම්
And in your sports news tonight, Captain Dimuth Karunaratne says that he will step down from the Test captaincy following the series against the Wisting Island team. He revealed this fact at the media briefing held at the end of the second Test match against New Zealand in Wellington.
New Zealand whitewashed the two-match series 2-0. New Zealand won the second Test against Sri Lanka by an innings and 58 runs. The New Zealand team declared the first innings after scoring 580 for 4 wickets. Sri Lanka scored 164 runs only in the first innings. Sri Lanka team had a target of 417 in the second innings to evade an immense defeat. However, Sri Lanka only scored 358 runs in the second innings. Sri Lankan players who will play the ODI and T20 series against New Zealand left the island last night. Their ODIs will be played between the two countries, and the first ODI will begin on the 25th of this month. The T20 series will begin on the 2nd of April.
Janithu Lakvija sets a new national record in the 110-meter hurdles event today. Meanwhile, Tharushi Karunaratne sets a new record in the 800 meters women running event.
The tournament to select players for the Asian Championship Athletics Tournament, Asian Games and the National Junior Athletics Pool started at the Mahinda Rajapaksa grounds in Degama today. Janithu Lakvija set the new record by completing 110 meters hurdles event in 13.82 seconds. Tharushi Karunaratne of Valala A. Ratnayaka Central College completed the 800 meters event in 2 minutes 1.39 seconds. This is the second best time reported by Sri Lankan women's players so far. This is the best time reported in Sri Lanka in this event. Bears team became the champions of the Women's Baseball League tournament organized by the Sri Lanka Baseball Association. The tournament was held at the Japanese Friendship Baseball grounds in Degama. Bears team defeated the SEAL team 29 to 19 points at the final game. Gayani Geethika Bandara of the Bears team was named as the best player. Gurukula College of Kelaniya won the annual one-day cricket match against Sri Dharmaloka College in Kelaniya by 25 runs. The match was played at the R. Premdasa Cricket Grounds in Colombo. Gurukula College won the toss and batted first. They scored 186 all out in 48.5 overs. In reply, Sri Dharmaloka College could score only 161 runs all out in 47.2 overs.
මෙහෙම දිනන්න මෙහෙම වන්න Big Match Fun Dream කොත්තුමි තියනකම් කොත්තුමි
And with that, we wind up tonight's English news on Rupavahini. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.